Hello friends, and welcome back to a new video. I am so excited for this video. It is another author appreciation video. I filmed one back in November all about Ellen Montgomery and why I love her and her books and everything, and this is my second author appreciation video, and today we will be talking about one of my favorite authors of all time, Amanda DYKES. And this video will be a little bit different than the Ellen Montgomery video, just because Ellen Montgomery is an author who's no longer with us. It felt a little more appropriate to kind of talk about her life, her writing career, and all of that. When it comes to Amanda DYKES, I'll be focusing more on her books and what it is about her books that I love so much. I've been wanting to film another author appreciation video for the last couple of months. I just didn't know which author to cover, and I've been kind of planning out the year, and there are a few authors I want to talk about this year, but in specific months. A lot of them happen to be classic writers, and they are favorite authors for good reason, but I did want to talk about some authors that are modern authors. They're releasing new books and they mean a lot to me for a variety of reasons. And Amanda DYKES is a favorite author of all time, and it just felt appropriate to film an author appreciation video for her and her writing. So like I was saying, formatting will be a little bit different than it was with the Ellen Montgomery video. So I first wanted to just talk a little bit about Amanda DYKES' website, and I will have everything linked below that I talk about that I can have linked below. And I love that this is the first thing you see when you open her website, Amanda DYKES Spinning Stories, Gathering Grace. And on her Instagram as well, it's Spinning Stories, which she very much is a spinner of tales, a spinner of stories. I just love how she writes all her stories. I love what she says here as well. The cracking open of a well-loved book, ages old and brimming with stories, those written on the page and those of the hands that have held the little volume over the years. Stories take on a life of their own, don't they? And some stories, one in particular, give life. It is the author of that life-giving story who's brought us together here, who knows just what's on your heart today. I hope this quiet corner of the web will be a refuge for you, a place to meet him, whether in the lines of a blog post or the words of a book, and to know he authored you, every detail of you, with purpose, with such love. And whatever page of your story is unfolding, even as we sit here sharing screen space, what a gift to share it with you now. Thank you for visiting. Every space that she is in is just filled with peace and whimsy. I just love every single word she writes, whether she's writing the introduction to her website or a blog post or writing a newsletter. I just love reading every word she writes, and I'm not a big fan of newsletters. I don't really like reading emails, but every time I get an email and it's from Amanda DYKES, it's the newsletter that she sends out, I get so excited, and I just love opening up the email and reading the beautiful words that she's put together. I'm never bored, I'm always entranced, and I just love her words so much. So her website is linked below, and I highly encourage you check it out, especially the page where all her books are listed. For each book that she's written, she has some resources below, whether that's discussion questions. A couple of the books, she even has put together Spotify playlists that are inspired by the books, or maybe songs that have inspired her in writing the books. And they just fit the ambience of those books so beautifully. She has a playlist for Born of Gilded Mountains, which is the most recent novel that she's released, as well as the book that came before, which is All the Lost Places. And I've listened to some of the songs on both playlists, and they are perfect for the books. And when I reread the books, I think I'll come back to these playlists to listen while reading. I just think they're perfection. Another thing I just love about this writer is how she puts together Pinterest boards for the various books that she's working on, the various stories, and they also contribute to bringing the story to life for me as well when I look through the pictures of the boards as I'm reading the books as well. And I just love that so much. As someone who loves Pinterest, I love that she has created these boards, and of course the link is in the description box. I wanted to share the different stories that Amanda DYKES has written, from short stories, novellas, to full-length novels, and what she has coming out next. So there are two short story collections that feature stories written by Amanda DYKES, and I have yet to read them. And the first one is called The Message in a Bottle Romance Collection, and the short story that she wrote, or rather it's a novella, is called A Song in the Night, and it says, "It will take readers on a journey from the wilds of Scotland to the bustle of 18th century London and the magic of the Handel's flamed floating symphony." So that is from the Message in a Bottle collection. And we also have the Kissing Tree novella collection, and she wrote From Roots to Sky, which is a World War II story. It says, World War II airman Luke Hampstead found comfort in letters from the sister of a lost compatriot. When he visits Texas to thank her, he discovers her constructing a project with surprising ties to his letters, and that she herself is even more surprising. While a promising opportunity awaits him elsewhere, will what they've shared be enough to give their future flight? And then we have 2 novellas and a short story, and the first novella here is Up from the Sea, and this is technically a prequel to her first full-length novel, Whose Waves These Are. It's kind of like an origin story to some of the characters in Whose Waves These Are. But it says, when Savannah May Thorpe visits her family in New England, she learns the future of the land she's inherited is in question. She finds help from a local lumberjack who holds a shadowed past of his own to discover the truth of a local legend and save her land. But her expedition may have unexpected ramifications on her life and the lives of those around her. And I am going to be sharing as many quotes as I possibly can just to show how beautiful of a writer Amanda Dykes is. The words that she puts together, it is just art. It is true art. But this is part of the prologue from Up from the Sea. The forest floor came alive that night, footsteps pounding upon it, roots forging slow paths on a dark soil. 2 worlds about to collide. The young woman flew through the trees, the frantic swishing of her skirt masked by the sound of wind through the bending pines above. Something snagged, a bramble against her white lace shawl. With a rip that matched the rending of her heart, she freed herself and continued on, one arm holding fast to the boxy bundle wrapped within her shawl. There, on the backside of a mountain, she broke into a clearing, her destination. She also wrote a novella titled Bespoke, and it is a tiny Christmas tale. This one wasn't a favorite, but I still thought it was beautifully written. It says, a secret, a bicycle, a promise. While the elusive secret symphony of Giovanni St. John captivated the world's fascination, it left his daughter closed away in the silent house. She, the one who holds the fullness of truth about the Ninth Symphony. Now, Aria St. John is determined to not only break free of the loss that has defined her, but to honor her father through one final gift in his last days. On the tiny Isle of Espoir, only one man can help her in her quest, James Shaw, the village blacksmith, and the lost friend of her childhood. Will they be able to overcome the tragedy that separated them before it's too late? And here's just a short little passage. Aria, even her name spoke the purpose of her life. A song, a symphony. She didn't mind, really. She loved the music. The way she could place her lips to a reed, stretch her little 8-year-old fingers just so, and make, out of nothing, a note fill the room. But what she really liked was the way her father's stern countenance softened, ever so, when he listened to her play. The way he told her sometimes that she was the only living symphony there ever was or ever would be, his ninth. The only symphony that didn't have to be written because she lived music. And then my favorite of her short stories / novellas is Can Serenade, and it's also a Christmas story. And it is about 2 young children writing notes back to each other, and I have to read the introduction. 2 homes in the mountains, snowed in for winter's keep, a river in between them, a rope tight o'er the deep. A mother and her daughter, a father and his son, a cottage and a cabin, a story yet unspun. But time did freeze a tin can dangling from that rope, a messenger from days gone by, echoing long-lost hope. Until a cold November day saw decades fall away, young hands inscribed a folded scrap, a missive sent to say, ... So begins the plucky correspondence of Timothy and Genevieve, 2 children about to uncover a story long buried, one filled with love, with loss, and with hope. An enchanting Christmas story laced with joy, God's healing hand in the broken places of life weaves through each letter passed over the river, in that tin can strung from the rusted pulley. And then this beautiful quote. The melody sailed across the trickling river and set our feet to dancing. We couldn't hear your voices, just the music. Do you think music has some agreement with the water? Mother would say it has to do with the properties of each, so scientifical she is. But I think it's just that the music was made for the water, and the water for the music, dancing partners for all time. I just love that so much. So those are the short stories and novellas that she has written, and I will now talk about her main novels, all of which I love. I'll talk about her novels in publication order, and even though I do love all 5 of them, they're a mix of 4, 4.5, and 5 stars. Not all of them are 5 stars, but I still think they are amazing books, and she is still an all-time favorite author. But Amanda Dykes' debut is Whose Waves These Are, and this one was the 2020 winner for the Christie Award for Book of the Year and I believe general fiction as well. and I can see why. It is fantastic. It is such a beautiful story. In the wake of World War II, a grieving fisherman submits a poem to a local newspaper, a rallying cry for hope, purpose, and rocks. Its message: send me a rock for the person you lost, and I will build something life-giving. When the poem spreads farther than he ever intended, Robert Bliss's humble words change the tide of a nation. Boxes of rocks inundate the harbor village on the coast of Maine, and he sets his calloused hands to work. Decades later, Annie Bliss is summoned back to Ansel by the Sea when Grandbob, the man who gave her refuge during the hardest summer of her youth, is the one in need of help. But what greets her is a mystery, a wall of heavy boxes hiding in his home. Memories of stone ruins on a nearby island ignite a fire in her anthropologist's soul to uncover answers. Together with the handsome and enigmatic town postman, Annie uncovers the story layer by layer, yearning to resurrect the hope Grandbob once held so dear and to know the truth behind the chasm in her family's past. But mending what has been broken for so long may require more of her and those she loves than they are prepared to give. This book was beautiful. Even though it is lower in my official ranking, it is the only one that made me sob. Out of all 5, this one made me cry the most. It was such an emotionally impactful story. I loved it so much. I also have to show the beautiful map that was included. I think 3 out of the 5 books have maps, and they are all done so beautifully. And another thing I love about her books is her epigraphs. She will either include a Bible verse or classic poetry or prose, or both. And in this one, the epigraph is both a Bible verse and a passage from a poem. So the verse is Amos 9:6. He who changes deep darkness into morning, who calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the surface of the earth, the Lord is his name. And then from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's The Day is Done, read from some humbler poet whose songs gushed from his heart, as showers from the clouds of summer or tears from the eyelids start, who through long days of labor and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. And the prologue is so short, but it just instantly grabs your attention. Every wave in that big old blue sea is a story. Bob told me this a long time ago, his voice brined with wind and water. I laughed and focused on the cresting peaks from his old dock. They disappeared faster than a 10-year-old could count. Too many waves, I said. It can't be. His smile pushed wrinkles around blue eyes as he squeezed my hand tight. So many waves, Annie. You remember that. It would be decades before I'd learn the truth of that. So many stories, in this pocket of a harbor where broken lives like waves upon the shore are gathered up and held close. I never imagined then that it would be my breaking place too, nor how beautiful the breaking could be. I loved this book. It is just so beautiful, and I also have to say, dual timeline doesn't always work for me, but it always works for me when Amanda Dykes does it. She does it perfectly. Another thing is this book is all in present tense, which is another thing that I don't usually like, but it works, and I had no issue with the present tense in this story. I will read anything Amanda Dykes writes, and I do have a couple more quotes I wanted to share from this book as well. This first one is short, but it says, "I have learned to kiss the wave that throws me against the rock of ages." I just thought that was so profound. Short, but profound. And then, "The strength of the storm does not change whose waves these are. There is one mightier still." I love quotes that include the title, so that is whose waves these are. Her next novel, Set the Stars Alight, was released in 2020, and I also really enjoyed this one. This one and Whose Waves These Are probably my 2 least favorite, but again, they are still fantastic novels. And I also have to say the cover of this one is a work of art in and of itself. It is beautiful. And this one is also dual timeline, but it just works so well. It says, "In an aged brick cottage in London, the magic of the past comes alive each night for the family of a humble watchmaker. In her father's fireside stories, Lucy Claremont's fascination with the high seas begins, leading her to devote her life's work to discovering the whereabouts of a legendary lost ship. But when tragedy strikes, it's childhood friend Dashiell and his knowledge of the stars that may help her solve the puzzle. 200 years earlier, 3 young lives are altered forever when a shepherd rescues the privileged son of a powerful admiral. As the children grow, war leads to unthinkable heartbreak, deep love, and a story of betrayal, sacrifice, and redemption that fades into obscurity as centuries pass. As Lucy and Dash explore mysterious ruins on the East Sussex coast, their search leads them to a community of souls and a lost hidden tale that may hold the answers and the healing they so desperately seek." I I really liked the historical timeline in this one and how it was set against the backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars, but it was not about the Napoleonic Wars. So you don't really need to know anything about that time frame to understand the story and to know what's going on. And I also really enjoyed in the modern day timeline, we get a little bit of marine archaeology, as Lucy, the main character, is a marine archaeologist. So I thought that was fascinating. And I recently read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and I love that the epigraph includes a verse from that poem. The fair breeze blew, the white foam flew, the furrow followed free. We were the first that ever burst into that silent sea. And now I want to reread this after reading The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I just have this craving for all things open seas and ships and all of that. So I'm kind of craving that, but such a beautiful novel. I just love how Amanda Dykes sets the scene. In chapter 7, we're first introduced to the historical timeline, and it says, "The wind rose again in the night, and with it father's temper. The two were intertwined. A gale bellowed down the cliffs to the sea below, snatching up its fury in swirls and delivering it back into the admiral's soul. Cannon fire in the English Channel beyond rolled in like thunder, echoes of Napoleon's ongoing war. Orange fire glowing from the hearth behind him, the admiral stood at the window in his study as a man far from home, commanding a battle he could not see, lamenting his absence from it and the way the endless searing pain in his leg caused a pain deeper than the physical. It took him from that war, shut him out of it. The cannons and the wind and the fury of it all would pour out on whomever was around. On this night, Frederick Hanford was determined it would not be him this time." I really, really enjoyed this one, and I also like that it was set in Sussex, so the south of England, and loved the dual timelines. That is Set the Stars Alight, and a couple more quotes that I wanted to share from this book. "The world is dark, so dark we sometimes forget the stars, but they are always there. We need only fight to see these brilliant places of light, these echoes of the truest story, of a man who gave his life for another, and of a man centuries before him who gave his life for the world, the one who is coming, and coming, and coming after you, fighting for your heart, every breath a gift." And the second quote, "I think it's our duty to keep the stories, to pass them on. It is our duty and our honor. In a world as dark as ours, we, that is, people, forget how to see the light. So we remind them by telling the truth, fighting the dark, paying attention, setting the stars alight. There are things shining brightly all along if we will notice." In 2021, the wonderful, wonderful book Yours is the Night was released, and to this day, this is my favorite of the 5. It's hard to say because the most recent book she's released is also a contender for favorite, but as of now, this one is the one that just got to my heart in a way that the other 5 almost did, but not quite. This one is one of the most beautiful World War I Great War stories I've ever read. It has everything. It has humor, it has a touch of the lighthearted levity, it has really deep themes and traumatic things that go on. It has a cast of very, very unique characters, and I loved each and every single one of them in this book. It's another one that has a pretty awesome map, and this book is set in France, so you can see just the border there of France and Belgium. Oh, I loved this book so much. And I love that she titled it Yours is the Night. It's like she's speaking directly to God. Yours is the night. And she took that from Psalm 74:16. The day is yours, the night also is yours. I love that so much. But it says, a mysterious song in the forest, a discovery in war-torn France, a journey toward hope. The trenches of the Great War are a shadowed place. Though Platoon Sergeant Matthew Pettigrew arrived there with a past long marked by shadow, the realities of battle bring new wounds, carving within him a longing for light and a resolve to fight for it. One night, Matthew and his comrades are enraptured by a sound so pure, a voice so ethereal it offers reprieve, even if only for a moment. Soon, rumors sweep the trenches from others who have heard the lullaby too. The Angel of Argonne, they call the voice, a mysterious presence who leaves behind wreaths on unmarked graves. Raised in the wild depths of the forest of Argonne, Mireille, and I believe that's how you pronounce her name, it is a French name, but Mireille finds her reclusive world rocked when war crashes into her idyllic home. taking much from her. When Matthew and his two unlikely companions discover Murray, they must embark on a journey that will change each of them forever, and perhaps at long last spark light into the dark. And I love this. It says, on the 100th anniversary of the dedication of the tomb of the unknown soldier comes an emotive tale inspired by the courageous soldiers of World War I. I just found that so poignant, and I love this book so much. And in chapter 3, we are first introduced to Murray, or Mira as she goes by, and this is what it says, and it is just beautiful. The sun awoke as a kaleidoscope pouring in the window of our small kitchen. It was old fabric that made it so, hanging there in front of the glass in colorful strips sewn together. Today I imagined they were once a part of a beautiful lady's ball gown. I had read many times of balls in the book of fairy tales on Grandpère's shelf. We did not have such balls here, but why should we not? It would be nice to meet people, or at least see them. They might like to have a ball among the trees. When I was younger, I always lingered on the same tale in those same pages, the tale of a girl and the road. She left home to discover great treasure, and what adventure awaited her on her journey. I used to pretend, as I went about my chores, that I was the girl on that journey, pursuing great treasure. Perhaps someday I would find it. And speaking of fairy tales, reading this felt almost like I was reading a fairy tale. Just the writing, and every single time Mira was on page, it felt so ethereal and fairy tale-like, and I just loved that so much. And I have one quote to share. It says, "The night. It had become our homeland, his and mine, the place where all the rest of the world slept and our hearts found each other in the dark. To sit, to talk, to be heard, and to see that the darkness was created and held by the same God who had spun the sun and all its golden light." Next up, we have All the Lost Places, which was published in 2022, and this one is set in Venice, Italy. I am just obsessed with this cover. It is beautiful. The story is beautiful as well, and it is also a book for book lovers. There is just so much about the love of literature in this story. It's also a dual timeline, and this one says, 1807, when a baby is discovered floating in a basket along the quiet canals of Venice, a guild of artisans takes him in and raises him as a son, skilled in each of their trades. Although the boy, Sebastian Trovato, has wrestled with questions of his origins, it isn't until a woman washes ashore on his lagoon island that answers begin to emerge. In hunting down his story, Sebastian must make a choice that could alter not just his own future, but also that of the beloved floating city. 1904. Daniel Goodman is given a fresh start in life as the century turns. Hoping to redeem a past laden with regrets, he is sent on an assignment from California to Venice to procure and translate a rare book. There he discovers a city of colliding hope and decay, much like his own life, and a mystery wrapped in the pages of that filigree-covered volume. With the help of Vittoria, a bookshop keeper, Daniel finds himself in a web of shadows, secrets, and discoveries carefully kept within the stones and canals of the ancient city, and in the mystery of the man whose story the book does not finish, Sebastian Trovato. And this one we have a full 2-page map there, Venice, which I love, and this little snippet from Venice by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, phantom city whose untrodden streets are rivers and whose pavements are the shifting shadows of the palaces and strips of sky. And I love the opening few paragraphs here. Once upon the dawn of time there was water. Before there were stars, before the Maker set life into earth, breath into lungs, beast or man to roam, there was water, dark and reaching, stirred not by wind but by the Spirit of the Almighty himself. Once upon the dawn of time, water discovered its eternal dance partners, shadow and light. The trio waltzed, webbing diamonds into depths, scattering stardust over peaked waves, spitting gold over ripples. These ancient waters have never left. They travel around and around, over and over, time without end, from sea to sky, raining back down into the hands of men. I loved this book, and in my Goodreads review, I basically said that reading it was like being bathed in golden hour sunlight. That's what it felt like reading this book. That's what it feels like reading all of her books, but truly with this one, it felt like golden hour. And from what I remember, I believe the character Vittoria, who is the bookshop owner in Venice, she has 2 pet owls named Robert Browning and Elizabeth Barn Owl Browning. That is amazing. That is just fantastic. Those are some of the best pet names I've ever heard. And of course, a couple quotes here. So the first one says, "You don't look at a book and see only paper and ink. You seem to somehow feel it, the heart who wrote it, the lives and the pictures taking on heartbeats, so that you can look at the faces of the people in one book and recognize in them the souls from another." And another quote, "Who am I? It is a worthy question, one that I know will not go away, nor should it. I can only tell you that I will stand by your side as you grow, and I will help you search out that answer one day. But you may find in time that though your question is a very good and important one indeed, it is not the most important one of all. In the meantime, Sebastian, who are you? You are loved. You are you. You are full of good purpose. You were made for this, your time, and this, your life. There is none like you, and I see the fingerprints of a mighty and good, kind, loving God in your good, kind, loving soul." I just love that so much. So that is all the lost places. And last but not least, we have Born of Gilded Mountains. This book is, okay, now that I'm holding it, I don't know if I can say Yours is the Night is my absolute favorite, because this one is really, they're tied for favorite. We'll just go with that. But I tapped this up like crazy. I couldn't stop. It was just absolutely incredible. This one is also Amanda Dykes' most unique story in that she uses different formats. So she tells it in third person omniscient, but she also includes letters and screenplays and folio notes, and our two main characters, when they're young girls, they are pen pals, and so we have letters between them, which I just loved so much. We must take a moment for the beautiful map. Absolutely gorgeous. And this one is set in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, which I loved so much. Legends are tucked into every fold of the Colorado Mountains surrounding the quaint town of Mercy Peak, where residents are the stuff of tall tales, the peaks are taller still, and a lost treasure has etched mystery into the very terrain. In 1948, when outsider Mercy Windsor arrives after a scandal shatters her gilded world as Hollywood's beloved leading lady, she's determined to forge a new life in obscurity in this time-forgotten Colorado haven. She purchases Wildwood, an abandoned estate with a haunting history, and begins to restore it to its former glory. But as she does, her every move tugs at the threads of the mountain's lore, unearthing what became of her long-lost pen pal Rusty Bright and the whereabouts of the infamous Galloping Goose railcar number 8, which vanished years ago, along with the mailbag it carried, whose contents could change the course of countless lives. Not to mention the fabled treasure that, if found, could right so many wrongs. Among the towering mountains that stand a silent witness, the ghosts of the past entangle with the courage of the present to find a place where healing, friendship, and hope can abide amid a world forever changed. Something I really appreciated about this book was the fact that our main character, there is no romantic plotline for her, and you rarely see that in these types of stories. So I did really, really appreciate that. We didn't need a romance to drive the plot or to keep things interesting or anything like that. I loved that. I'll just read the first very short couple paragraphs of the prologue. Blood moons were made for pact swearing. 4 boys orbiting 10 years old knew it, and so did the mountains, standing witness. They were an unlikely group, but life up here did that. Remote and rugged, so beautiful it cut you to the quick just as sure as the peaks sliced the air and brought down the heavens in the form of stars and storms. One of my absolute favorite quotes in this book is from a character, Rusty, who, when she is 10 years old, encourages her friend Mercy by saying, "Just rip the bandage off, do the hard thing and get it done, and that's courage. You'll think then you can start living, but the truth is you've been living all along. That's what Dad says. So every morning I eat my stupid porridge that makes me gag. Courage." I have 2 more quotes to share. I love this next one, that just the way she describes characters is just perfection. And it's also in regards to the character Rusty. Rusty Bright grew up like the pines and red stone walls around her, the canyon a refuge from the fierce winds that swept the outer faces of the mountains. She trounced in and out of people's lives, bearing crawdads or kittens, wild flowers or berries, painting everyone's world with color. And then the last quote, "On a stage of earth, beneath a canopy of stars, with a score of scattered laughter, Mercy watched a story unfold more enchanting than any the dream factory of Hollywood could have produced. Even the applause of the people, drifting up to meet and mingle with that of the aspen leaves, felt ethereal." This book was truly a work of art. Every single one of Amanda Dykes' books are works of art. And that is why I'm filming this video. I just wanted to gush about Amanda Dykes and just talk about why I love her so much. Her writing is like an artist painting on canvas, like a poet penning the most breathtaking words. She's like a composer creating the most beautiful, soul-filled pieces of music. And I don't care if that sounds cheesy because it's true. She's amazing, such an amazing writer. Honestly, just her writing is enough to make me want more of her works, and I can't get enough. But her characters as well, they feel so real and authentic and deal with real problems and complex emotions, complex issues that humans face every single day. I find the stories she's telling to be very believable, very emotionally compelling and poignant. And a lot of her books also feature found family, maybe in slightly untraditional ways, but there is an aspect of found family. I believe there is in Set the Stars Alight, although it has been a while since I've read it. I don't quite remember in whose waves these are. I definitely think in Yours is the Night, the group of 5 that join Mira in France and the journey that they're on, they're kind of like family to each other, and it's just so beautiful. And in this book, we have Sebastian, who's a baby floating in the canals of Venice, who is taken in by artisans, and there's found family there. He's raised by this group of people. And I believe in the 1904 timeline, the character Daniel, I believe he was orphaned, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, there's definitely found family in this book. And this book is all about the healing power of friendship. And we have characters that are orphaned in this story, and so there's found family, and I just think it's so powerful. And just going back to the things that these characters are dealing with and how I find them to be super compelling. Like, I love how in Born of Gilded Mountains, we have, a Hollywood actress running away from scandal, and her one lifeline she thinks is cut off from her. And I don't want to say what it is, but it's just so good. It's so good, and it's so well explored. I love how Amanda Dykes told this story. She also writes about trauma and characters dealing with trauma from assault, and orphans trying to find their place, their true home, people trying to find meaning in life, and childhood best friends trying to figure out their futures. There's just a lot of depth in what she explores in her books. I also love that Amanda Dykes has taken me to different places around the world in her books, and we get to explore different time periods. And while I may be more familiar with France during World War I and II, I love that she took us into the French woodlands during the Great War in this book. In Set the Stars Alight, we're taken to East Sussex at the turn of the 19th century, so we have the Napoleonic Wars as the backdrop. I haven't spent a whole lot of time there in the world of books, so I love that we got to experience a bit of that as well, and also do some stargazing with these characters. I've probably only read 1 or 2 books set in Venice, so the fact that she took me to Venice, Italy, such a pleasure, and I loved it so much. I loved every single description of this city. Just fantastic. Reading books like Whose Waves These Are make me want to plan a road trip to coastal Maine. I just want to see the Atlantic Ocean from this area of the United States, and I really enjoyed the setting. And then of course the Rocky Mountains. I'm a mountain girl at heart, and the Colorado Rocky Mountains, just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. I loved every single aspect of the setting in this book, and I also loved the touch of the 1940s in Hollywood, and oh my goodness, it was just perfection. And another reason, and the final reason I'm going to share as to why this author just means so much to me and why I love her books so much, is basically what she says in the author's note of Whose Waves These Are. It's not a very long author's note, but it is just beautiful. I like to think about that little post office in Ansel, its mail slot in the door, the sea breeze pulling it open and shut, creaking in fledgling attempts at a song. If I were there, I'd pull open that tarnished brass slot and slip a note inside addressed to you. It would say, "Dear friend, with this book I offer you my heart. It isn't much, perhaps, but these words were sown with tears, both those of grief and those of joy, and deep, deep hope, which I pray might be even a small gift to you. You see, when I look back at where this tale came from, so much is a blur, but one single thing is clear. It came from a place of being held, a place where God gathered up all of me in my brokenness in a time of deepest grief and just closed his grip around me tight, holding me close to his heart. There in the dark was a pair of nail-scarred, love-etched hands that stooped to gather up and tend each broken piece, his heart aching right with mine. Hands and heart whose way is to cherish and to take that brokenness and somehow, with tenderness and strength, summon forth light, hope. That is my prayer, that in the midst of any caverns of grief, chasms of tribulation, anything that has marked or cracked your life, the God who plunges right into your turmoil with you will wrap those shards up and do his work. In his Narnian world, C.S. Lewis called it the deeper magic from before the dawn of time, that one innocent would offer his own scars into a broken place to bring life. Tolkien called it the eucatastrophe, the good catastrophe. Jesus called it his very purpose. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. John 10:10. Lift your head, brave one. This life is a storm, no doubt about it. But oh, the one who holds those waves, who holds our hearts, what it is to think of facing this storm in his hands, wrapped in a love that is fathoms, infinite fathoms deep. He loves you fiercely, and as one of the characters in this book, Roy, would say, there's a whole lot of light. May it shine right into you, Amanda. That's exactly it. Every single one of her books, this is what she does. She points us directly back to the one who holds us in the storms, in the trials, in the fire, when we feel abandoned, in every circumstance. But she does it without being didactic and moralizing, which is something I prefer in Christian fiction and something I appreciate, and it just feels a lot more natural to the story. She is just incredible, and I would love to just continue talking about Amanda Dykes and her books in the comments below. If any of you have also read her books and feel the same way that I do, let's just continue talking about how amazing she is. And I know that the writing style isn't for everyone, and I completely understand that. So I'm not trying to convince anyone to read her books if this writing style is not to your taste. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone, but it is definitely a writing style that I adore, and I just wanted to share with you all. And of course, if any of you also love Amanda Dykes, I would love to continue chatting below in the comments, and I would love to hear which of her books you would consider your favorites, if you've read all of them, if you're still working your way through these 5. I also wanted to quickly mention she is releasing a book on March 25th, I believe. So by the time you see this video, the book may already be out. But that is called A Pocketful of Wonder. It is 50 hands-on adventures for kids to discover God's creation. So for any parents out there with younger children, this might be something you're interested in, and I'll have the link for it. All the links to Goodreads for these books will be in the description box as well. But friends, thank you so much for watching this video and listening to me ramble about one of my favorite authors of all time. It means the absolute world to me. And I will end off the video with one last quote from Set the Stars Alight. He is coming and coming and coming and coming after you. In every sunset, in every snatch of birdsong, in everything that stirs deep into you and makes you hungry for bigger things, eternal things. That is him, pursuing you with tenderest grace. In the places so hard they wring your soul, in the places so beautiful they steal your breath. He is there, filling your soul, giving you breath.